I was always surprised, and I've been asked this several times. You know, everybody will ask, so how many people did you kill? And in 28 years, no one ever asked me how many people did I save. And as the nature of a soldier, we do tend to kind of focus on combat operations, but that is only a small part. And not only are soldiers taking care of each other, but the soldiers that I've worked with, and I know this is characteristics of soldiers and other service members throughout all the services, is that taking care of people is a huge part. And that part of it is more rewarding in many ways than any other kind of missions that we ever get to do. One story that I remember that was tough for me was that there was a Bedouin family, a Bedouin tribe group, actually several families living together. And we came across them in the desert. And so in their sense of hospitality, they invited us to have some tea, and we sat down and we actually got to eat with them a little bit and shared some time. Well, there was this one family had 5 children. Well, the family, one child was incredibly ill. And so we started taking care of him. I had the medics come over and we started working on the child. And I remember the family said, do not help that child. We cannot keep this child alive. We have enough to keep our 4 children alive. We don't have enough for this 5th child. And we said, well, we're taking the child in. And the family said, take him. And so we got a helicopter and evacuated that child out. But I just remember the soldiers just focusing on this kid. Especially once the parents said, no, we will not feed this child. We will not support this child because the child is weak and it's going to die. And the soldiers couldn't, all of us, the whole team of us just couldn't fathom that. And I remember calling a helicopter in and getting that kid out of there.
We found the place where the soldiers' parents lived in a trailer park. It was dark. It was almost 10 o'clock. We were worried we weren't going to get there in time. They might have gone to sleep. But we went up to the door and knocked. And put yourself in the situation of a soldier's family. When your soldier's overseas, you're worried what's going to happen to him. And then late at night, 2 people in green army dress uniform come to your door. You already know what's happened, okay? As I said, sometimes the family members just fall down and start crying when they see us come. We don't have to say anything. Well, this man, the father of Specialist Ross McGinnis, came to the door and all he said was, "This can't be good." And we nodded. So come on in. We went in. He woke up his wife. They just been going to bed. And we all sat in the kitchen. Okay, their son Ross had jumped on a grenade. He was the turret gunner in a Humvee in Baghdad, and a grenade had fallen into the turret. And Ross had simply said, "I've got this one," and he jumped on it, and saved the lives of his 4 comrades who were in the vehicle with him. They were all wounded, but later on they said, "He saved our lives. We all would have been killed if it hadn't been for Ross taking that grenade." And there was no hesitation. He just did it. Several months later, the government decided to give Ross the Congressional Medal of Honor. His parents were there, and his 4 comrades were there to tell everybody how Ross had saved their lives. And again, his father said publicly, Ross was not a hero. He just did his duty.
When it comes to Memorial Day, the thing that I think about, I have several friends who sacrifice themselves, and in various units that I've been in, we've always spent this day to recognize the soldiers within the unit and the sacrifices that they've made. And I have a couple of friends, guys that I went to flight school with, and other guys that I've served with who are no longer here, and no longer and I remember the days, whether I was with one soldier, I was actually helping his family with the funeral and all the arrangements that were necessary, and that was very hard duty. It's probably the hardest thing I ever did in my entire time in the Army, was to try to help his family to finish up, because he and I had served together. I knew him, and that was tough. And then I had other friends too who had passed away from during combat, who I had served with in other units and that sort of thing. And so I always try to remember them on this day.
Back in November 2009, while Jonathan was still in Afghanistan, Jessica called me to let me know that he had been interviewed for a radio station and that he was going to be saying some things that I needed to know.
Staff Sergeant Jonathan Oldham serves with the reconnaissance unit in the 5th Stryker Brigade. He says homemade bombs are the enemy's most common and lethal weapon. He has survived an IED blast.
That first 2 seconds, when you come out of the cloud, all of a sudden you realize everybody's okay. I think that one takes a whole lot out of you, and I'm going to remember that.
He says they do have solid help.
The Afghan Army, they're strictly business, and as long as you show them respect, they'll respect you.
And local residents.
If you establish a personal relationship with the populace, they'll tell you everything. They'll say, hey, this guy just showed up, or hey, this guy from our village is in the village right now. We don't know who he is, and that intelligence you get from that can lead on to further operations.
He believes they are making progress against those who support terrorism in Afghanistan.
We've been very successful lately at targeting them to the point where we're pretty sure most of them high and mid-level command are tucking tail and heading off to Pakistan.
Heather Bosch, News Talk 97.3 Cairo FM.
I know when anytime there is a mishap, there is an accident, all the phone lines go down, and no one is allowed to call out from wherever they are until the family members have been notified. Again, I just say a little prayer that he's okay. And the Lord has been with me all the way.